So hi guys, this is the external and internal anatomy of toad presented to you by Neil Justin Bernales. Let us begin with an introduction. Toads and frogs belong to a group of animals known as the amphibians. Most species live partly in fresh water and partly on land. These animals have moist skin with no external scales, and they have the head and trunk joined in a broad, depressed body, no tail, short forelimbs, long hind limbs, and eardrums exposed. Let us begin with the differences of male and female frogs. The male and the female frogs or toads can be distinguished from each other by the following features. The first one is the first finger of the male is very much swollen during the breeding season. Second, the male has dark pigmented areas at the angles of the lower jaws on the ventral surface of the head. And third, the female is generally bigger. The second characteristic is the most reliable when the rest fail to show. The external body parts of the toad is divisible into two regions, the axial and the appendicular. The axial region is composed of the head and trunk with almost no neck at all. The appendicular region is composed of the forelimbs and hind limbs. For the head part, there is the snout. It is located at the anterior end of the head that is triangular in shape and bordered by the anterior part of the upper jaw. Next is the external nares, or nostrils, two small openings near the tip of the snout. Third part is the eyes. It is found at the dorsolateral portion of the head. The eyes are provided with the upper eyelids, lower eyelids, and the transparent covering which is an outgrowth of the lower lid. The nictitating membrane. Next is the tympanic membrane, a circular area behind each eye, also called the eardrum. And lastly is the brown spot, a tiny white spot at the mid-dorsal part of the head between the level of the eyes. This is very distinct in the frog, not in the toad. For the trunk, it is part of the body posterior to the head. This is divided into two regions, the thoracic and abdominal regions. The thoracic region or chest region is the anterior half. In this region of the toad, it is where the poison or parotid glands that are elevated structures of the skin is located, just behind the tympanum. For the abdominal or lumbar region, it is the posterior half. The ventral portion is the abdominal while the dorsal is the lumbar region. For the appendicular region, the first part is the forelimbs, the anterior appendages. Each limb is divided into segments which correspond with our forelimb. These segments are as follow: the upper arm, middle forearm, carpus or wrist, manus or hand, fingers, and prepollux. And for the hind limbs, it is the posterior appendages. Each is also divided into segments as follow: the thigh, shank, tarsus or ankle, pes or foot, toes or digits, web, and prehallux. Internal anatomy of a toad. So let's start first with the skinning and dissection. Line alba. It is a line at the center of the abdomen. Ventral of the abdominal vein is a blood vessel attached to the abdominal wall. Second is the visceral organs. Visceral organs, it has two regions, the pericardial cavity and pleuroperitoneal cavity. Under the pericardial cavity is the left atrium, right atrium, and ventricle. For the peritoneal cavity, Under it is the lungs, liver, gallbladder, stomach, small intestine, pancreas, large intestine, urinary bladder, spleen, kidney, testes, fat bodies, ovaries, oviducts. Pericardial cavity is a small body cavity located on the thoracic region, the cavity that holds the heart. The heart in the pericardial cavity is enveloped by two transparent membranous tissues. It is a three-chambered heart. It has two anterior atria and one posterior ventricle. Under the heart is the left atrium. It receives oxygenated blood from the lungs, and it is carried by the pulmonary veins. Second is the right atrium. It receives the oxygenated blood from the different organs. It is carried by the vena cavae, or precava and postcava. And lastly, under the heart or the pericardial cavity is the ventricle. It is a cone shape. It receives both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from the atria. Now let us continue with the pleuroperitoneal cavity. It is the body cavity where most of the organs of the viscera are suspended by the respective mesenteries. So let's start with the lungs. It is paired. It is the primary organs of breathing. It is big, thin-walled sacs and can be seen inflated or collapsed. Next part will be the liver. It is the largest gland in the body. It is reddish-brown in color and divided into big parts, the right lobe, left lobe, and the small median lobe. Next will be the gallbladder. It is a small rounded sac. It is for storage of bile, and the location of it is in the ventral surface of the median lobe of the liver. After it will be the stomach. It is bag-shaped, muscular, slightly curved sac. It has two regions, the cardiac region, which is wider anterior portion which joins the esophagus with the stomach, and the pyloric region, the posterior region located near the pyloric sphincter. Next will be the small intestine. It is a long, narrow, and coiled tube. It is a duodenum, anterior portion. Ileum. It is a posterior portion. Next will be the pancreas. It is long, thin, irregular, yellowish organ, suspended on the lesser omentum or the gastrohepatoduodenal mesentery, connecting the stomach, liver, and small intestine. Next is the large intestine. It is straight, club-shaped, usually dark-colored tube. It is continuous with the small intestine. Its ending is at the anus. The next part will be the urinary bladder. Membrane-like bilobed sac, ventral to the posterior end of the large intestine. Next part is the spleen. It is rounded, dark red gland embedded in the mesorectum, and mesorectum is the mesentery which suspend large intestine to the dorsal body wall. Next to it is the kidney. It is flat, elongated organ, dark brown in color. The next part will be testes. It is a pair of oval or elongated cylindrical yellowish bodies lying on the ventral surfaces of the kidneys and only in male toads. Next will be the fat bodies, also known as corpora adiposa, finger-like yellowish bodies, attached to the anterior end of each testis, only in male toads. Next will be the ovaries. It is the dark organs filled with eggs. When not filled with egg, they are small, flattened, pale, and irregular shaped organs, attached to the ventral surface of kidneys and only in female toads. Next will be the oviduct. It is paired, white coiled tubes, lateral to the kidneys, only in female toads. And now I'll be explaining the function of the organs. First off, this is stomach. It secretes substances that aid in chemical digestion. It mechanically breaks down food. It stores food and controls the rate of passage to the small intestine. Small intestine. It is the digestion and absorption of nutrients. Next will be the intestine. It solidifies the waste product by absorbing water. It is the storage of waste product. Next is liver. It is the production of bile, filters toxins and chemicals. For pancreas, it is the production of pancreatic digestive enzymes, pancreatic proteases, pancreatic lipase, and etc. Next will be the gallbladder, storage of bile. Next will be the spleen. It is the largest organ in the lymphatic system. It synthesizes antibodies, active immune response, and filtration of red blood cells. And lastly is the kidney. The kidney is the filtration of body fluid. It is the reabsorption of essential ions and nutrients. It regulates acid-base balance and electrolyte concentration. That would be all, and thank you for listening.